Have you ever wondered if your choices truly matter? Are the paths we walk shaped by our decisions, or are we simply following a script written by forces beyond our understanding? This is a classic debate between fate and free will, a question that has puzzled philosophers, thinkers, and storytellers for millennia. It's a concept that touches on our deepest fears and hopes. Do we have control over our own lives, or are we destined to meet a certain end, no matter what we do? Anime, as a medium rich in emotional and philosophical storytelling, often tackles this very question, whether it's through time travel, supernatural forces, or battles with fate itself. Anime has a unique way of exploring how characters confront the tension between destiny and choice. And it's not just a narrative device, it's a reflection of the human experience. In real life, we often wonder if we can change our outcomes or if some events are inevitable. In today's video, we'll explore 3 anime that delve deep into the conflict between fate and free will. From the ability to break fate and forge our own paths in Bleach, to being forced to live out a fate we didn't want in Fate, and then finally exploring the dark side of time travel in Steins. Each of these shows presents characters who are faced with seemingly inescapable destinies, but they still fight to assert their own will, to carve out their own futures. These stories challenge us to think about our own lives. Do we have the power to change our fate, or do forces beyond our control bind us? How do these anime balance the idea of destiny with the choices their characters make? And most importantly, what can we learn from their struggles? Let's dive into these anime worlds, where the battle between fate and free will plays out in emotionally charged, thought-provoking ways. We'll see how these characters confront the very question we often ask ourselves. Can I change my destiny, or is my path already set? Join me as we break down these stories and uncover the lessons they offer. And before we jump in, please do remember to subscribe and like the video, it really does help. Now let's get on with the video. At first glance, Bleach, created by Kubo, might seem like a typical shonen anime, action-packed, supernatural, and driven by a young hero. However, beyond its thrilling battles and intricate world building, Bleach delves into something much deeper, the tension between fate and free will. It explores how our lives are shaped by forces beyond our control, and how we, in turn, have the power to shape our own destinies through the choices we make. This is a theme that resonates deeply with real life. We all face situations where we feel that we're being pushed in directions we didn't choose, by family, society, or even unexpected life events. Much like the characters in Bleach, we often wonder how much of our lives is predetermined and how much of it is within our control. Ichigo Kurosaki, the protagonist of Bleach, has his life irrevocably changed when he meets Rukia Kuchiki, a soul reaper tasked with protecting the world from evil spirits called Hollows. When Rukia is unable to continue fighting, she transfers her powers to Ichigo, forcing him into a role he never asked for. In this moment, fate steps in, pushing Ichigo into a path he feels is inevitable. He didn't choose to become a protector of both the living and the dead, but now that responsibility is his. We've all experienced moments where we feel like life hands us responsibilities we didn't ask for, whether it's family obligations, career paths influenced by social expectations, or challenges we never saw coming. There are times where we feel like fate is dictating our journey. We're expected to act, to step up, even when we're unsure if we're ready. Like Ichigo, we may feel the weight of external pressures forcing us into roles we never envisioned for ourselves. In real life, this can manifest in a variety of ways. A family business we're expected to take over, societal pressures to follow a specific career path, or life-altering events like illness or loss that drastically change our course. Bleach captures the essence of this struggle, how life sometimes pulls us into unexpected directions, and how we're forced to navigate these changes. While Ichigo may have not chosen his fate, what makes Bleach compelling is how he responds to it. Rather than succumbing to the forces that control him, Ichigo continuously makes personal choices that shape his journey. His decision to embrace the role of Soul Reaper and protect those he loves, even at a great personal cost, reflects his determination to take control of his destiny. In real life, we may not always have control over the circumstances we're born into, but we do have the power to choose how we respond to them. For example, somebody might be born into a family with high expectations of them, taking over the family business, but they might choose to forge their own path. Or a person may face the challenges of an unexpected illness, but instead of giving in to despair, they may choose to fight and find meaning in their struggle. This idea is mirrored in Bleach through the Soul Society arc, where Rukia is sentenced to death for giving Ichigo her powers. It seems like a fate she can't escape. The laws of Soul Society are rigid, and it feels like her destiny is sealed. Yet, Ichigo refuses to accept this outcome. He makes the bold choice to challenge an entire system to save her, proving that fate can be rewritten if we're willing to fight for it. In our own lives, we often encounter situations where the rules or expectations may seem unchangeable, whether it's societal norms, family traditions, or institutional pressures. But Bleach reminds us that we have the power to challenge these structures, to carve our own path, even when it feels like everything is working against us. Our choices, no matter how small, have the potential to change the course of our lives. The concept of fate and free will isn't only explored through Ichigo. The antagonist in Bleach provided a different perspective on destiny. destiny. Sasuke Aizen, one of the most iconic villains in the series and anime as a whole, represents the extreme desire to control fate. Aizen doesn't just want to play his role in Soul Society, he wants to transcend it, become a godlike figure who controls everyone's destiny. His obsession with power and control reflects a common struggle we see in real life, the desire to control every aspect of our future. In today's world, many of us struggle with the need for control. We want to shape our lives in a way that guarantees success, happiness, and fulfillment. Whether it's meticulously planning our careers, trying to control every aspect of our relationships, or striving for perfection, there's a constant pressure for us to be in control. However, just like Aizen's downfall, life often teaches us that control is an illusion. No matter how much we plan, unexpected events like economic downturns, personal loss, or health issues can throw our plans into disarray. Aizen's ultimate defeat by Ichigo, a character who embraces both fate and free will, illustrates the importance of flexibility in the face of life's unpredictability. In real life, while we may plan and strive for control, it's often our ability to adapt, to make choices within the chaos that defines our success. As Ichigo's journey continues, he comes to understand that the powers he's been given are not just burdens, but opportunities for growth and self-discovery. Initially, he views his role as Soul Reaper as something imposed on him, but over time, he realizes that it's also part of who he is. By embracing his powers and responsibilities, Ichigo finds meaning in his role, balancing the forces of fate with his own choices. This mirrors our own lives. While we may not control every circumstance, we do have the power to define our response. Whether it's embracing a challenge at work, taking responsibility for a family member, or navigating a difficult personal journey, the choices we make in these moments are what shapes us. Like Ichigo, we must find a balance between accepting the things we cannot change and taking action where we can. The growth that Ichigo experiences throughout Bleach reflects the growth we experience in real life. As we navigate the challenges and uncertainties of our own lives, we learn that while fate may set the stage, it's our choices that determine how the story unfolds. Ultimately, Bleach offers us valuable lessons about the balance between fate and free will, lessons that apply not only within its fictional world but also in our everyday lives. We all face moments where life feels beyond our control, where fate seems to have already decided our paths, but like Ichigo, we have the power to make choices that reflect our own values, to fight for the outcomes that matter to us, and to shape our own destinies. In the end, Bleach reminds us that while we may not be able to control everything, we can always control how we respond. It's a message of hope, resilience, and the power of personal choice, a message that resonates deeply in both the world of Bleach and in the real world we live in every day. Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works offers one of the most compelling explorations of fate and free will in anime. At its core, the series revolves around the Holy Grail War, a battle royale where 7 mages summon historical heroes or servants to fight for the ultimate prize, the Holy Grail, an omnipotent artifact capable of granting any wish. However, as the story unfolds, it becomes clear that the Grail itself is not the be-all and end-all. Rather, the true conflict lies in the personal beliefs, values, and destinies of the characters involved, most notably Shirou and the servant Archer. The series presents a constant tug-of-war between fate and choice. While each participant is thrust into this war, bound by their roles as master or servant, they're still confronted with the moral and philosophical implications of their choices. The question that echoes throughout Unlimited Blade Works is, do we have the power to change our fate, or are we merely playing our predestined roles in the grander scheme of things? In real life, we may not be summoned into a battle for an all-powerful wish-granting device, but we often face situations that feel like they're out of our control. Moments where we're pushed into paths we didn't choose, either by circumstance, social expectations, or external pressures. Whether it's being born into a family with certain expectations, finding ourselves in a job we didn't want, or grappling with unexpected life events, we often question whether we are masters of our own destiny or mere pawns in a larger game. Shirou, the protagonist of Unlimited Blade Works, is a character defined by his desire to save people. He inherits this ideal from his adoptive father, Kiritsuga Emiya, and it drives his every action in the Holy Grail War. Shirou's obsession with becoming a hero of justice stems from a deep-seated belief that he can and should save everyone, even at the cost of his own happiness or well-being. However, his journey throughout Unlimited Blade Works forces him to confront the harsh reality of this ideal. In real life, many of us are driven by similar ideals, whether it's the pursuit of a perfect career, a desire to help others, or a deep commitment to a cause. We often strive for perfection, believing that if we work hard enough and make the right choices, we can achieve our goals without compromise. But like Shirou, we inevitably face situations where reality of the world clashes with our ideals. Throughout the series, Shirou is forced to grapple with the limitations of his dream. He learns that no matter how much he tries, he cannot save everyone. This is a hard lesson that resonates with real life, whether it's our personal relationships, careers, or social causes. There comes to a point where we realize that some things are beyond our control. No matter how much we want to make everything perfect, life just doesn't work like that. However, Shirou's journey isn't about accepting the limits of his power. it's also about finding strength in his choices. Rather than abandoning his ideal entirely, he learns to navigate the grey areas of morality and compromise, realizing that even if he can't save everyone, it doesn't mean his efforts are meaningless. This mirrors the reality we face when pursuing ambitious goals. Sometimes we have to adjust our expectations, but that doesn't make our efforts any less valuable. Shirou's growth as a character is a reflection of how we learn to balance our ideals with the reality of life, finding meaning in our choices, even when they don't lead to perfect outcomes. Perhaps the most striking exploration of fate in Unlimited Blade Works comes from Archer, and spoiler, who is Shirou's future self. As a counter-guardian, Archer has lived through countless lifetimes of fighting for justice, only to become disillusioned with his ideals. He represents the darker side of Shirou's dream, the inevitable regret and bitterness that comes from pursuing an impossible ideal. Archer's goal in the Holy Grail War is to kill Shirou, and in doing so, erase his existence to prevent the cycle of suffering from repeating. Archer's struggle against fate is deeply personal, and it raises profound questions about the nature of regret, self-determination, and whether we are doomed to repeat our mistakes. In real life, we all have moments where we look back on our past choices and wonder if we could have done things differently. We grapple with the weight of regret, questioning whether we made the right decisions or if our fate was sealed from the start. Archer's desire to escape his fate reflects a universal human fear, the fear of making choices that lead to regret or disappointment. But his conflict with Shirou highlights an important lesson about facing our past and our future. Rather than running from his mistakes or trying to erase his existence, Shirou chooses to embrace his path, accepting that his journey will be fraught with hardship and imperfection. This is a lesson that applies to all of us. We can't change our past or undo the choices we made, but we can choose to move forward with the knowledge that our future is still in our hands. The Holy Grail War itself is a powerful metaphor for the struggle between fate and free will. Each master and servant enters the war with the promise of a wish, a single opportunity to change their fate. Yet as the characters quickly learn, the Grail is not the solution they hoped it would be. The war is filled with betrayal, sacrifice, and moral ambiguity, and it forces each participant to confront the consequences of their desires. In real life, we often think success or happiness as the Holy Grail we're striving for, a single achievement or goal that will solve all our problems. But just like an Unlimited Blade Works, life rarely offers simple solutions. The pursuit of a goal often comes with unexpected challenges and compromises. We may achieve our ambitions only to find that the consequences are more complicated than we anticipated. For example, someone might strive for a high-powered career, believing that it will bring them happiness and fulfillment, but once they reach that position, they might find themselves sacrificing personal relationships, health, or peace of mind. In this way, the Holy Grail War mirrors the real-life tensions between the desires we chase and the costs that come with them. Ultimately, Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works offers a nuanced exploration of fate and free will that speaks directly to the human experience. While we may not be able to control every aspect of our lives, we are always faced with the choices that shape our future. Whether it's Shirou's determination to fight for his ideals or Archer's struggle with regret, the series reminds us that we have the power to define our own paths, even in the face of overwhelming odds. In the end, it's not about whether we can change our fate entirely, but how we choose to navigate the journey. Unlimited Blade Works teaches us that while fate may play a role in our lives, our choices, both big and small, are what truly defines who we are and who we become. Steins Gate is a fascinating anime that delves deeply into the relationships between fate and free will, particularly through its exploration of time travel. The series follows Rintaro Okabe, a self-proclaimed mad scientist who accidentally discovers a way to send text messages to the past, leading to drastic changes in the present. As Okabe and his friends manipulate the timeline, they quickly realize that altering the past has unintended consequences, setting off a chain of events that lead to tragedy and chaos. What makes Steins Gate such a compelling exploration of fate and free will is the way it presents a character's struggle against the inevitable. As they attempt to rewrite history, they are constantly confronted with the limitations of their own power. The show asks a fundamental question: can we truly change our fate, or are we bound by the consequences of our actions, no matter how hard we try to avoid them? In real life, we may not have the ability to travel through time, but we often wish we could go back and change the past, correct a mistake, undo a regret, or make a different choice. Steins Gate captures this desire perfectly, showing how the allure of altering the past can lead to unexpected and sometimes devastating results. One of the key themes in Steins Gate is the butterfly effect, the idea that even small changes in the past can lead to massive differences in the future. This concept is central to the show's plot, as Okabe and his friends discover that every time they send a message to the past, the present is altered in ways that they never anticipated. What starts as seemingly minor changes, like winning the lottery or saving a friend's life, spirals into a web of consequences that they cannot control. This idea resonates with real life in that our choices, no matter how small they seem at the time, can have far-reaching effects. Every decision we make, from the people we befriend to the jobs we take, shapes the course of our lives in ways we can't always foresee. Just as Okabe learns that he cannot predict the consequences of his own actions, we too must come to terms with the fact that we can't control everything that happens as a result of our choices. We may want to believe that we are in control of our own destiny, but Steins Gate reminds us that the consequences of our actions are often beyond our control. As Steins Gate progresses, the burden of responsibility weighs heavily on Okabe. Each time he tries to fix a mistake or undo a tragedy, he only seems to make things worse. This culminates in the emotional toll he experiences as he repeatedly witnesses the deaths of his friends, particularly Mayuri, and faces the trauma of being unable to save them, no matter how hard he tries. This aspect of the series speaks to the human condition in a profound way. We often feel the weight of responsibility for the choices we make and the impact we have on those around us. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, things go wrong and we are left to deal with the guilt and regret that follows. Okabe's journey is a reflection of this struggle, as he grapples with the pain of knowing that his actions have caused harm despite his intentions. In real life, we all experience moments where we feel powerless to change the outcome of events, even though we are the ones who set them in motion. Whether it's a decision we made at work that led to unintended consequences, or a personal choice that caused hurt to someone we care about, we are often left questioning whether we made the right choice. Okabe's character arc in Steins Gate highlights the difficulty of carrying the burden of responsibility, particularly when the stakes are so high. Another fascinating concept explored in Steins Gate is the idea of world lines, alternate timelines that exist simultaneously, each with its own set of events and outcomes. The idea that there are multiple realities, each shaped by different choices, suggests that free will is both a powerful and limited force. While Okabe and his friends can shift between world lines and make different choices, they are ultimately still bound by certain constants, things that seem fated to happen no matter what changes they make. In the real world, we often find ourselves grappling with the illusion of free will. We like to think that we are in control of our lives, making decisions based off our own desires and goals. However, we are also bound by the circumstances we are born into, the society we live in, and the limitations of time and space. Steins Gate illustrates the tension between free will and fate, showing that while we may have the ability to make choices, we are not always able to escape the consequences or the underlying forces that shape our reality. The idea that certain events are fated to happen, regardless of how much we try to change them, is a sobering reminder of the limits of our control over life. While we may not believe in a literal fate that dictates how every reaction, we all experience moments where it feels like certain things are inevitable, no matter how much we try to avoid them. Whether it's the end of a relationship, a career setback, or the loss of a loved one, there are some events in life that we cannot change, no matter how hard we try. Steins Gate explores this tension, reminding us that while free will gives us the power to make choices, we are not always in control of the outcomes. Despite the heavy themes of fate, consequence, and regret, Steins Gate is ultimately a story about hope. Okabe's journey, while fraught with pain and loss, is also one of perseverance. Even when it seems like fate is against him, he refuses to give up. He keeps fighting, not because he believes he can completely escape his fate, but because he believes in the possibility of a better outcome. In this way, Steins Gate offers an important lesson for real life. Even when we feel trapped by circumstances or overwhelmed by the consequences of our choices, we can still find hope in the ability to keep moving forward. Okabe's determination to protect his friends and find a way to undo the damages he has caused is a reminder that while we may not be able to control everything, we can still make meaningful choices that shape our future. In real life, we often face moments where we feel like we've reached a dead end, where it seems like no matter what we do, we can't escape the consequences of our past decisions. But Steins Gate teaches us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, we can still find hope by continuing to fight for what matters to us. It's a story about resilience, about the power of choice, and about the belief that even when things seem bleak, we still have the ability to shape our future. In the end, Steins Gate reminds us that while we may not be able to change everything, the choices we make still matter. Even in a world where fate seems to play a powerful role, free will gives us the power to keep fighting, to keep hoping, and to keep moving forward. As we come to the end of our journey exploring the themes of fate versus free will in anime, it's clear that these stories hold a mirror up to our own struggles with destiny and choice. Through the worlds of Bleach, Fate Unlimited Blade Works, and Steins Gate, we see characters who grapple with whether their lives are predetermined by fate or shaped by their own decisions. Their journey reminds us that while external forces may influence our path, the power to make meaningful choices often lies in our own hands. Ichigo in Bleach continually battles forces beyond his control, but finds strength in asserting his agency, reminding us the importance of perseverance. In Fate Stay Night, Shiro's struggle to uphold his ideals in the face of overwhelming fate speaks to a universal desire to carve out a life of purpose, despite the challenges that come our way. Steins Gate adds another layer to this discussion, highlighting the consequences of trying to outwit fate, showing us that even when we seek to control everything, life has a way of teaching us humility. Ultimately, these anime show us that while fate may set the stage, it's our choices that define who we are. tension between destiny and free will is not just an age-old philosophical debate, it's something we all navigate in our daily lives. These stories encourage us to reflect on the role of choice in our own lives and remind us that no matter how strong the forces of fate might seem, we always have the power to shape our journey through the decisions we make. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into fate and free will. Keep questioning, keep